أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Welcome to weekly Quranic wisdom study. We are continuing to study texts from Imam Nursi on the treatise of destiny or divine determining, Qadar, also known as 26th word of the book Words by Imam Nursi. We have been studying the very end of this treatise for the last couple sessions. This is called the addendum, and here Imam Nursi introduced a path of Ubudiyya, worshipfulness, a path to our Rabb, our God, that he learned from the Quran. There are many paths that are taken from the Quran, as he said, and there are numerous, truly numerous paths leading to Almighty God. So this is not an exclusive path, but this is one efficient, effective path, inshallah, that's derived from the Quran. So we've been reflecting on some of the very deep connections across different Quranic passages. And these four steps that has been in the forefront of our discussion, the four steps of عجز, فقر, شفقة, and تفكر, weakness, poverty or neediness, compassion, and reflection. And then they were connected with some key passages from the Quran, especially around cleansing our ego, our nafs. The Quran announces that whoever purifies the self, the nafs, is the one who truly succeeds, flourishes. قد أفلح من زكاها, as the Quran says. And so these were very crucial tips on how to cleanse our soul. And it was about recognizing our weakness and neediness. It was about recognizing that whatever beautiful that comes into being in relation to us, through us, is not from us, and to direct gratitude to its source rather than appropriating to ourselves. It was also about recognizing transience. It was a theme that we talked about last class as well. So in what follows, for a couple of minutes, I'm going to share some of the things from my notes of last class, and then I'd like to invite you, any of you, if you could share anything from last class that stayed with you or you want to bring up as a reminder for yourself and ourselves, for all of us. And then we will read the very last bit of this addendum and perhaps even finish, I think, for the entire treatise today. One of the things that was emphasized last class by Dr. Yamina was making peace with the fact of ajiz and faqr, that we are needy, we are in need, we are utterly weak and have no power actually on our own, that we need to stay with this and make peace with it instead of just intellectually knowing, yes, of course, I can't do anything. I can't even lift my hand. I can't even talk on my own. So many things are happening inside me and outside me for you to even exist, for me to even exist, or to be able to articulate a word or understand something or see. We can say these things intellectually, and definitely we need to be engaging our minds as well. However, Dr. Yamina was reminding that we need to also stay with it and make peace with that fact, and that will lead us to compassion. The more we recognize that we are utterly dependent on divine compassion, the more we will be able to reflect compassion onto other people, other creatures, from a place of humility, that I am a recipient of compassion, and then I see compassion coming to me, so I'm not going to block it. Dr. Yamina had said that the more I am present with beautiful names of God, the more I will let it flow into the world around me. And there was also an emphasis on how all these steps are interrelated. Neediness, compassion, and tafakkur are all interrelated. We also talked about transience, the fourth step that we read last class, last meeting, was focused around this verse from Surah Qasas, كل شيء استعيذ بالله كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه, Surah 28. Everything will perish, or everything is in a state of passing, perishing, except his countenance, his face. And so we had stayed that with that a bit. Dr. Yamin had recommended for us to practice this. I'm afraid I haven't practiced it as much as I should have this week, but I hopefully will remind myself. All of these things are to really constantly come back to. So inshallah, she was saying that we should stay with it, pay attention to change around us, especially things that are changing swiftly, small kids growing, or even clouds and sky changing. The world around us is constantly changing, and it's scary initially to recognize that there is this world constantly changing around us. But if we surrender, it's a relief. And because we keep trying to hold on to things that are passing, and it's actually a huge relief coming to this fourth step and recognizing that, wow, I've been holding on to things that are absolutely escaping, and they actually have no part to hold on to. Whatever we think is stable is not stable, and constantly we are setting ourselves up for disappointment. And it's actually a huge relief to say everything is passing except his face, except our creator. So Dr. Yamin had suggested that we stay with that feeling. And there were also two tips that she brought up last time. Keep these two tips in mind when you read the Quran. One, notice how in the Quran there's always an emphasis on everything passing. Everything is passing, is repeated over and over again. And the more we pause with that reality and accept it, make peace with that, the more we can also see the beautiful names of God reflecting. If everything is passing, then the source of goodness is not in them. It's coming from beyond. So then these two are related. So she had suggested that keep this in mind when you read the Quran, these 2 points. So that was also helpful. And there was this line that was introduced toward the end of last class. There is no future without akhirah. It's just imaginary that we think things are, stable. Actually, this week I happened to come upon this bestseller author in America, and she, at the age of 22, she was diagnosed with leukemia, and it wasn't like clear if she's going to. I mean, the prognosis wasn't good. It wasn't clear if she's going to survive the cancer treatment and so on. And she all of a sudden faced this fragility and, this vulnerability. And I kind of tried to look into like what her argument is, what she was saying, and she seemed to be saying that it's good to just, journal and stay with your feelings. And then she got well and wrote books and bestseller, and she has her life story. It haunted me for a day because on the one hand she looked like she was grappling with the heart of the things that we discuss in the halakha in life, transience. On the other hand, it looked as if like she has made it, or he's, I mean, she's not saying I'm not going to get sick again, but as if, there is some solidarity from dwelling in that moment. There's some solidarity, something comes from that experience. But I kept thinking, now she's famous, and she has married with someone who's also, fabulous and so on. And they have gone through this treatment together, and they have, so on and so forth. I mean, details. There's a lot of, beauty uh, in that experience as well. But I kept asking, so what is next? I mean, none of this. I think they made the film and it got Oscar or something, um, on her journey and her sickness and so on. She's been touring for her book, and so on and so forth. But I kept thinking, there's no future without connecting with the eternal. Because tomorrow, God forbid, and if she died tomorrow, all of the Emmy awards or whatever awards she got, whatever Instagram followers she had, nothing is going to avail her. And there's actually no real future without turning to the source of all this. And I'm not making a judgment about her per se, but it was an occasion for me to reflect a bit um, more on that transience, how deeply we're embedded in transience. And once we surrender in the fourth step, it's a relief. Dr. Amina was saying it's a relief, and you realize transience is a door opening onto the eternity, that you realize, of course, I wasn't able to hold on to this or that. Everything is passing, because they weren't meant to be held on to. They were inviting me to the eternal one. There were a lot of emphasis on being conscious of our ajz and faqr. And then we also discussed the metaphor of firefly. It was just a symbolic idea that sometimes we think that I want to hold on to my agency. I have some agency as a human being, and yet we actually have no independent agency whatsoever. We imagine we have agency. We are given some agency as a unit of measurement to try to relate to our creator and his agency, but ultimately our agency is fully dependent on our creator's agency. And we need to be at peace with that and welcome that instead of resisting it. Otherwise, for the sake of claiming some illusionary agency, we are going to let everything in darkness, because we can't claim that we have control. I mean, if I'm a famous author who's winning these awards, for instance, even if I claim agency on my writing and so on, I have no agency on my body, whether I'm going to be healthy or not. I have no agency on things around me, on the world. So at the end of fourth step, Imam Nursi was saying, don't be like that proverbial firefly that flies in intense darkness with a little of light, meaning don't trade uh, away seeing everything in divine light for the sake of holding on to some illusory agency. See that your agency itself is actually also a sign to divine agency, that everything is under his power, his compassion. I mean, there are a lot of gems in these conversations, and perhaps we can keep repeating and dwelling, going back into those. But for now, I'm going to pause, and I'm going to ask if anybody would like to share anything from last class, or if you were able to listen to the video, if you missed last class, anything you want to put on the table to share with us, please feel free now. Okay, if not, I think we have just a little bit of text remaining ahead of us. Let's see. What we can do is we can Perhaps read the fourth step as a reminder of what we have already read, even though the gems in it require further reflection and practice individually, inshallah. And then we can, move on to conclusion and read the conclusion and talk about it. So with that, is there anyone who would like to read?
Read what, sorry?
I thought we'll read this just fourth step that we had read last time, and then move on to conclusion and read a bit more. Would you
Okay.
like that? Yeah. Arfa, did you want to read?
Yeah, sure. So just basically read it out loud.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, just making sure. All right.
Okay.
So, fourth step, as the verse everything will perish save his countenance teaches, the evil commanding soul considers itself to be free and independent and to exist of itself. Because of this, man claims to possess a sort of dominicality. He harbors a hostile rebelliousness towards his true object of worship. Thus, through understanding the following fact, he is saved from this. The fact is this: according to the apparent meaning of things, which looks to each thing itself, everything is transitory, lacking, accidental, non existent. But according to the meaning that signifies something other than itself, and in respect of each thing, being a mirror to all the glorious Maker's names and charged with various duties. Each is a witness, it is witnessed, and it is existent. The purification and cleansing of a person at this stage is as follows. In his existence, he is non existent. And in his non existence, he has existence. That is to say, if he values himself and attributes existence to himself, he is in a darkness of non existence as great as the universe. That is, if he relies on his individual existence and is unmindful of the true giver of existence, he has an individual light of existence like that of a firefly and is submerged in an endless darkness of non-existence and separation. But if he gives up egotism and sees that he is a mirror of the manifestation of the true giver of existence, he gains all beings and an infinite existence. For he who finds the necessary existent one, the manifestation of whose names all beings manifests, finds everything.
Thank you. So we can continue onwards to conclusion unless anyone would like to add a comment or Dr. Yamina would like to remind something.
You mean about what we
Yeah,
read right now?
yeah, we had read this last
Let's
too.
let's listen to everyone else first, inshallah.
Yeah. Everyone else is quiet. Okay, maybe we'll just continue onwards to conclusion. And and then see if people have any comments and questions about this final bit of the treatise. Arfa, would you like to continue reading?
Sure, I can do that. The 4 steps in this way of impotence, poverty, compassion, and reflection have been explained in the 26 words so far written, which are concerned with knowledge of reality, the reality of the Sharia, and the wisdom of the Quran. So here we shall allude briefly to only 1 or 2 points as follows. Indeed, this path is shorter because it consists of 4 steps. When impotence removes the hand from the soul, it gives it directly to the all-powerful one of glory.
Just to remember, impotence is ajiz in the original. We have glossed it as also weakness, powerlessness. Yeah.
Makes sense. Whereas when the way of ecstatic love, the swiftest way, takes the hand away from the soul, it attaches it to the metaphorical beloved. Only after the beloved is found to be impermanent does it go to the true beloved. Also, this path is much safer because the ravings and high flown claims of the soul are not present on it. For apart from impotence, poverty, and defect, the soul possesses nothing so that it oversteps its mark. Also, this path is much broader and more universal. For in order to attain to a constant awareness of God's presence, a person is not compelled to imagine the universe, to be condemned to non-existence, and to declare, there is no existence but He. Like those who believe in the unity of existence, nor to suppose the universe to be condemned to imprisonment in absolute oblivion, and to say, there is nothing witnessed but He. Like those who believe in the unity of witnessing. Rather, since the Quran has most explicitly pardoned the universe and released it from execution and imprisonment, one on this path disregards the above and dismissing beings from working on their own account and employing them on the account of the all glorious Creator and in the duty of manifesting the most beautiful names and being mirrors to them. He considers them from the point of view of signifying something other than themselves. And being saved from absolute heedlessness, he enters the divine presence permanently. He finds a way leading to Almighty God in everything. In short, dismissing beings from working on account of other beings, this way is to not look at them as signifying themselves.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Arfa. Yeah, so this is just a couple gems that Imam Nursi is finishing off with. We can share what we understand or any comments or questions that come. So coming back to the beginning of the text, these 4 steps of ajz, faqr, shafaqa, and tafakkur. Weakness, poverty, compassion, and reflection are about reality, haqiqa, and haqiqa of the Sharia, and wisdom of the Quran. And this path is more effective, he suggests, because it is shorter. And then there is the comparison with the path of love, or aish in Arabic, I think, which is a path to God as well. a path to the Creator through love, divine love. This is shorter, it's saying, because with ajz, once what I understand from it is that once the nafs admits its powerlessness, its weakness, surrenders, then all power of one of glory becomes directly accessible. In contrast, in the path of ashk, the soul, the nafs, the uncleansed soul, first goes beyond itself to fall in love with a metaphorical beloved, and then from metaphorical beloved, it turns to the true beloved. So it is kind of a bit a longer a path. I don't know if anyone have any comments about this.
I have a reflection.
Mm-hmm.
It's more so it's related to what you opened with. Um Forgive me, I'm still new to this workshop and Imam Nursi's his text. But I was thinking about what you were when you were talking about the author who was sick
Mm-hmm.
and she went through, her chemo and what she needed to go through, and now she's famous, and all the glitz and glamour of fame has kind of blinded her to that moment where, like, um, I guess I think she rose to fame from what it seems like is because she went through this whole ordeal and she faced mortality. And I think, like for me at least, like you open with like talking about like how everything's perishing. Imam Norsi, how he talks about how everything's perishing except his face, and I just think that it just puts so much in perspective, like her whole ordeal, even though she's like I feel like this world and like even like Shaitan kind of blinds you whenever you go through something like like at least for me what kind of brought me back to practicing was that realizing our mortality and the fact that everything is perishing in this world. So we chase after different things in this world, but regardless of what we're running towards, there's still this ultimate end. But I think it's for me, it's a very powerful teacher that really kind of helps put things in perspective. And I think that her path has she been on a religious path, specifically an Islamic path, like it would have made things a lot more like at least her perspective a little bit more different. Um, I don't know, like that. That's I was just thinking about that and how like mortality, like I guess her coming close to that, like it should have been a profound teaching moment for her. And it has been for me, and I know of other Muslims where it's been a big teaching moment for them. And it's just tough, I think, sometimes being in this world because, Shaitan and then the glitz and glamour of this world kind of blinds you to its reality. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, that's what I was thinking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. Everything perishing as puts things in perspective. Yeah. Um,
Assalamu alaikum. So I think here in the conclusion, he's wrapping everything up again, although he's explained it. We have the facts, the reality that we all live in, which is ajz and faqr, which means ajz is our powerlessness. We have even our limited control is actually even that limited control, if we pause and reflect, we'll realize that it is still very limited, and in fact it's zero. And then there is poverty, faqr, which is really the needs. What we have is needs. So this is our reality. We find ourselves, whether we realize it or not, but the moment we start looking for a path, it means we are awakening. It means we are intending to live consciously. It means we are now consciously asking for guidance from God through His revelation, His messenger, the Quran, and the way we interact with the Quran that is taught to us through the prophetic way. So we have this ajz and faqr, this powerlessness and these needs. And then we have the next is compassion. Compassion will come later. Compassion is like a landmark showing us that we are on the right path. It is there in every one of us, but it will show up to the extent that we are consciously embracing our ajz and faqr, our powerlessness and our needs without, in peace, in surrender, in the way we are taught in the Quran, which means we are not only accepting them and surrendering to this reality, because otherwise we can feel that reality, but fight with it. We don't accept it. It doesn't feel good. And that's why we find ourselves again and again in ghafla, because we don't want to surrender to the reality. We don't want to make peace with who we are. What we have is needs, and we have no way to take care of our needs. That's our reality. When we sit with that reality in surrender, in peace, the surrender and the peace is going to increase as we practice reflecting on the signs of God in the Quran and in the creation together, parallel together. Then we will feel less arrogance. Arrogance here is in the conceitedness of the ego that imagines to have something of our own. Even if it's tiny, we want to own it and say, this is who I am. But that's not who we are. Who we are is needs. If I have some skills or some competence, if we reflect as we are taught in the Quran and stay with it, we'll realize that that's a gift. That's not mine. It is being gifted to me. So there'll be less and less arrogance as we practice more and more tafakkur consciously, less arrogance and more empathy, more compassion. Because now I cannot see myself better than someone else, because even if I'm more skillful in anything, it's a gift. So I can, instead of being arrogant about it, I can only be more humble. It increases our humility and our gratitude. So if we go to this way, ajz and faqr, because of my needs, I realize that I have needs and I have no way to take care of my needs. And lo and behold, my needs are being taken care of. And as there is this reflection, this tafakkur al-Qur'ani that we learn through the Quran by means of the ayat in the Quran, then we start, that's the first step. Practically, what are we going to do? Imam Nursi is saying, this is the path, because I can be in this path as I described, but it's vague. What shall I do? He's saying, first step, do not absolve your ego. It means take responsibility. Take responsibility for my shortcomings. Start with the shortcomings, because we are so good at, if we are not consciously following this path, the path of ubudiyah, then we have a tendency to impulsively defend ourselves. And we don't take responsibility for anything that we don't like. But we want to take credit for everything that feels good to us. So the first step is start taking responsibility for your shortcomings. The second one is do not forget God. The more I stay with my needs and reflect, and the more I will witness the blessings, that the abundance, the overflow of abundance that is coming to me constantly, even when I have some wishes on my list that are not being answered. If I just stay in the moment, I will notice that all kinds of needs are being taken care of in a very beautiful way, in ease, so much ease. The ease is a sign of comprehensive, all-encompassing power to the conscious witness, and to the ghafil, to the neglectful. It's because it's so easy, we take it for granted, and we don't see any divine action there. We don't see the rububiyyah there. So the next step is, when we start taking responsibility for our shortcomings, there is more and more humility, less and less arrogance, more and more peace and surrender to the fact of our ajz and faqr. And the more it says, the ayah says, do not forget God, it means we will remember God, because the more I feel my needs and see that I can't take care of them yet, my eye sees, I understand, I breathe, I eat, subhanallah. And if we think how this is happening, it's not only I'm breathing because I am healthy, and the more you know about the respiratory system, the more we're at awe at how it works, and also the air outside. For the air to be clean and to be everywhere available, the whole galaxy, everything has to exist. So subhanallah, we take it for granted, like air, water, but they are miracles of power. Nothing can buy them, not because no one can make them. No one can create them except the Rabbul Alameen, the sustainer of all worlds, my sustainer, the sustainer of every living being. And so as we don't forget God, it means as we start remembering God and seeing and experiencing and living the fruits of his rububiyyah, his blessings, then we won't forget ourselves, because they go together. When we forget God, we forget ourselves, and we identify with a false identity, a false perception of the self, which is going to reflect on everyone and everything around us, because that distortion is going to distort everything about the reality of life. And that's why we get stuck into not only anxiety and fear, but more than that, there is helplessness, there is a sense of not being satisfied or no fulfillment, whatever we struggle with, or whatever we think we're achieving. Even as Muslim believer, practicing Muslim believer, if there is no organic conscious connection with the source of the blessings, then always we will feel a vacuum, something very important is missing. There's no true meaningful, life is not meaningful. There's no true purpose. There is only a hope. Deep down, we know there must be, but we are not witnessing it. We are not experiencing it because we disconnected ourselves from the source by not absolving ourselves of shortcomings, and therefore appropriating the goodness to ourselves, and therefore in the second step we forget about God, and therefore he makes us forget ourselves. And so the next one, if we are doing the tafakkur with this intention, choosing to surrender, choosing to accept the reality that deep down we know that reality, that nothing belongs to me, everything is given to me. If I keep renewing this choice, this intention, then it becomes easier and easier to surrender to this reality. And life becomes more and more meaningful. There is less conceitedness, and therefore more and more feeling closer to divine mercy and seeing the beauty of the rububiyyah everywhere, including within myself. So it becomes easy to start seeing all the goodness coming from God. And whenever I see something evil, either I am blocking the good in my own activity in my own life, or I am blocking my perception of good outside in the world outside. And they go together to the same extent, to the same percentage, to the extent that I am blocking it in my life. The sense of helping is coming through me, but I decide for some reason, whether I justify it or I'm just too lazy, whatever the reason, I'm not enacting, I'm not letting that beautiful name flow through me. I'm not following the divine command of creational divine command. To that extent, I will see lacking, goodness lacking in the world. And so here, when I start seeing that good is from God and evil is from myself, again, always all these steps, ajz, faqr, and eventually we will start living with compassion. All these three things are connected with tafakkur, conscious reflection, and not haphazard reflection. Reflection that we learn from the Quran. We learn, and what we've been doing in all these readings, and when we were also studying surahs from the Quran, is to learn to reflect under the guidance of the Quran. So the tafakkur is what coheres all these things together. And in practice, we are given the first ayah, the second ayah, the third ayah. And if we really practice the third ayah and really, really stay there until we start living it, and when we start living it, we start feeling excited because of the reality is something that we crave, the human soul. I'm using soul as ruh. The text is using soul as ego, as nafs, or self. Then comes the last step. The fourth step is truly, as I had said last week, is truly living in that prostration. The more I am aware, and I am aware that I am zero, nothing belongs to me, nothing is from me, and I accept it to that extent, I can truly witness and live in the presence of the infinite. There is no infinite if I'm claiming something to myself. It has to be zero. Even if it's short-lived, it has to be zero so that I can feel the infinite. And the soul will...
What needs to be zero? Our agency,
the I has nothing.
On its own, yeah.
We only have needs.
Mm.
Anything else is not from me. That's why he's saying it's a safer step, safer path, because if we take the path of ishq, the path of ecstatic love for God, it's going to take longer, because in the beginning, the love will go to other things, and then we realize that they are impermanent, so it will go to God. But then the next will be, I am the lover. I don't have anything, but I have love. And I have to also give up that I am the lover. He is the beloved and he is the lover. It's like when I'm grateful, he is the object of worship. He's the one who is appreciated, but he is also the one who is making me appreciate. So I cannot claim anything to myself, because the ego is still waiting for something. It says, but I love God, but I'm grateful to God, but I'm doing this. But in this path, the ego can't claim anything. From the beginning, it's set to not be able to claim anything except need and powerlessness. Because that's why he says here, compassion is not like love. Compassion is, it comes from the empathy of feeling, being aware of my powerlessness, being aware of my needs. It's a letting go of arrogance, being more and more humble. That humility is what fills us with compassion. The compassion is there anyway. It's me who, when I'm arrogant, I am blocking it. The more I let go of my arrogance, the more humility, the more the compassion will flow more easily through my life, my action, my being, and then my action, my words, and everything else. And all this is connected, cohered through tafakkur. And then the fourth one is the last step, which is all things perish except his wajh, his countenance. And that's the eye totally prostrates before its Rabb. Nothing is mine, everything is from my Rabb. And here at the end, he says it's also, and why is it easier? Not only it's an easier path, but it's more universal and a broad path, because everything in the universe, everything in the creation is showing us the way to God, is a path to the divine, to our Rabb. Why? Because I don't have to only focus on my inner self, which is we need to do in any case, but it's not the only step. We have to do that reflection and foresee reflection, that inner reflection, and that's the basis actually. And together with that, we learn from the Quran to reflect on the creation. And we learn in the creation, everything is making our Rabb known to us. Everything is calling us unto Him. Everything is teaching us how to witness, how to practice conscious Shahada. Everything is proclaiming the names of God and teaching us about God with His name and how to proclaim them. So the inner part is necessary, because otherwise I can learn everything from the creation, but it won't, it will remain as information if there is no inner surrender. To the extent that I surrender, to the extent that I prostrate, I become zero before my Rabb, to that extent I will benefit from the teaching, the guidance, the glorifications, the tasbihat of the creation. To that extent I will learn to, I will be able to consciously witness together with the creation, to witness the beautiful names of God and to get to know my Rabb with his beautiful names as he makes himself known through the creation and through the Quran. And through the Quran, I learn how to reflect through the creation. The other paths, they don't do anything with the creation. The creation is good, it's all making tasbih, but how is it making tasbih? We don't know. You feel it. Feeling it is not the same as learning to step by step. And of course, you will feel it as well. But it's not, if you're only feeling, it takes lots of patience, lots of time, lots of inner work. It's a longer path and narrower. Not everyone can last in the other paths. They will eventually get there, but here it's a broader, because in the Quran it's teaching us step by step how to reflect on the creation, including that includes our creation as well. And it's a very practical way of the 4 steps, each one under the guidance of an ayah from the Quran. And this ayah it's an ayah, but like there are lots of passages in the Quran that emphasize the meaning of this, each of these ayahs. So here it's all perishes. If all perishes except his face, it means the eye has to perish before to see his face. And that's the last step. I cannot be there if I'm still trying to absorb myself, still when something I don't like is attributed to me, I will feel like it's the end of the world and I'm trying to convince everyone that it's not the case. And it doesn't mean that we accept everything, but acting out of reacting to things and acting out of seeking justice or seeking beauty or seeking something is different than I am out there fighting the world. No, this is who I am. Who do you think I am? I am not this, I am this. That's justification. And that tendency within us will we'll have to work on it consciously. The more we work on it, the more we'll remember God, the more we will make peace with who we are, and who we are as abd won't hurt anymore. Because if we are still holding on our false image, our true self, true self as abd, we can't accept it. Because it feels like, then who am I now? Then I don't have anything. I am nothing. That's how it feels to the ego. No, we are abd. Abd is much higher than what we claim as an impermanent being, claiming whatever. But you see, I can do this, I have this, I am this. Yes, but all those things are given to you. And if my life ends now, all those things will end at the same time. And they can end up without my life ending. I can forget everything. People lose their memories overnight, or lose their sight, or lose everything. So what am I holding on to? So the more I make peace and stop absolving and justifying my shortcomings and who I think I am, trying to appropriate things to myself, the more I remember God, the easier to see all the goodness from God, and our life becomes more fulfilling, more meaningful. The soul, we start living from the heart, from the soul, and they are at peace. And through joy, even in hardship, we will feel true peace, true joy, satisfaction, طمأنينة. ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب. The ego, in the beginning, the ego will be bruised, and then it will also make peace with the reality. Even the ego will surrender eventually, as the Prophet ﷺ says. So I think it's a beautiful path, and it's easy to follow. I mean, instruction-wise.
Easier, perhaps.
I mean easy to follow. The instructions are easy to follow. Now to follow in practice, it is a matter of consistency and choice. It is a choice. When we don't make the decision, the choice, we don't intend it, then it's extremely hard. And when we make the choice, it's so easy. Why is it very easy and very hard at the same time? Because the distance between 0 and 1 is infinite. For instance, the light is on, the light is off. 1 is there is no light, 1 there is light. The distance between 2 cannot be measured. But the difference is deciding to switch the light on. And here it is the difference. It seems very hard because the ego doesn't want to let go. And when we make the decision, the ego is still complaining. And we say, you can complain as much as you want. It's like you have your child throwing a tantrum, but you still need to go somewhere. You put him in the car, he's still shouting and screaming, and you're still moving. That's what we need to do with the ego. Just like a child. The child is going through something, okay, but we don't follow what the ego wants. That's why we need to have that awareness. It is a decision, it is a choice, and we make the intention and we keep renewing it. We keep renewing it. We keep renewing it. The ego becomes weaker and weaker, and the heart and the soul stronger and stronger. It becomes easier and easier to make the new decision. And that inner voice starts getting feeling, at least, weaker and weaker. Even if it's the same, the volume is the same, it's down as far as we're concerned because we're not paying it attention. I mean, you can even try it with, there is noise out there. Like on the weekend, you will have lots of people mowing the grass. So sometimes you have 2 or 3 at the same time, lots of noise. And the more we pay attention to the noise, the more it seems that there is a lot of noise. But when you say, either consciously or unconsciously, you become busy with other things, you don't remember where it stopped. And then you realize there is no noise. Where did it stop? I don't know, because I became busy with something else. The more we are busy with saying yes to the reality, the more what the ego is saying or doing won't have will have less and less impact on us, inshallah, and becomes easier and easier.
Inshallah. Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Yamina, for all these gems. Yeah, you offered us a very nice summary of these couple weeks that went over the 4 steps of the path, and then very, very promising, enticing notes. In being abd won't hurt anymore because we won't hold on to our false image. It's actually very easy to live with as an abd. It's much higher than to pretend a false imaginary ownership.
It'll be easy to make istighfar when we find ourselves again in that old space. Oh, astaghfirullah, what am I doing again?
Yeah.
But we will be able to recognize the difference. Oh, I am again into my old way of being, because now there is a new way of being that is much more familiar. So it becomes easier to come back, to make istighfar and, make dua and please, please, please forgive me and go back.
MashaAllah, very nice. So we have a couple notes in the chat. Siba said earlier that hence the dua when we ask him to help us remember him, to thank him. And best way of worshipping is Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatika. I think this is from the prophetic saying. I think this is in reference to what when Dr. Yamina was talking about, even when we offer gratitude and thanks and worship, we realize that we are enabled to do it. So there is no space of being conceited or boasting. In relation to that, Sister Ziba is highlighting that prophetic prayer. And then also added, like you say, Dr. Yamina, we are created to worship. If we don't surrender to Him, we're surrendering ourselves to our nafs, ego, or societal norms, or something else. So, again, this is a constant, I think, emphasis to remember that whether we're explicitly worshiping something or not, we are in a state of worshiping. We are after things, we're longing, adoring, hoping from, putting our hopes in something always, seeking something always. So then we are created to worship. Point is to choose, consciously choose to worship the real creator and source. And subhanallah, another comment, subhanallah, the old way starts feeling constricting. Yeah, the more we get used to the new way, inshallah, when we fall back to the old way of praising ourselves, attributing things to ourselves, trying to always make an excuse for our mistakes, that way starts feeling constricting.
Yeah, we will start feeling, what are you doing? Like, is it even worth it? Like,
Yeah.
Who are you cheating with this? Who are you deceiving except yourself?
Yeah, that glitter, initial glamour and glitter also becomes not glittery even. Thank you. Anyone else who would like to ask a question or share a comment? Or do we want to go back to the text? Anything? I mean, it was a short text we read. Anything from here that you want to ask about?
I want to ask about, I was listening to the halakha 2 weeks ago, the one in which Tasniya had asked the question, making choice and istikhara. So, recently I was in a situation. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Clearly?
yes.
Is it because I'm on my headphones? Is it clear?
Yeah, a bit clear, yeah.
Yeah. So my question was like I was in a situation recently where it was a situation like I wanted something to happen and like it was a time constraint thing. And subhanAllah, whenever I ask dua, my dua is always like if Allah, if it is good, then make it happen. If it is bad, then take it away from me. But that situation wasn't like it needs to happen so that my flight was there. So subhanAllah, like I was in a position that should I ask Allah, Allah make it happen, or should I still be with the dua that oh Allah, if it's good, then make it happen. Like that usually that's the dua we usually ask, like in Allah, if it is good, make it happen. But because there was so much of time constraint, so I said, no Allah, please make it happen. Please make it. And I was making that dua and inside I was still like, is it the right way to ask? And then when yesterday I came back and I was listening to the previous halakha and I saw that discussion. So I said, let me ask Sister Amina, what is it? Is it the right way of doing it? Like if you think that thing is time constraining and it has to be done, can I directly ask Allah, like Allah make it happen, or should I still?
It's the attitude. The attitude. I mean, there is degrees, of course. The highest degree would be being aware that this is how I am made, the need that I have now, and this is how I am interpreting it. I am interpreting it that this is what I need now. I'm asking you. When we are aware that I'm asking and in surrender, so if the answer is not exactly what I wanted, we have rida, we accept it. It must be that I thought that was what I needed, but Allah knows best. But if we are asking without realizing that this is how I'm made to feel the need now, and it's just my perception of my need, it could be this, or it could be something better. So when I'm asking for this, even when I'm asking for specific things, I am open to anything else too. That's the main thing. Not I'm asking for this and it has to be this, and if it's not this, then I'm a cross or I'm unhappy. You see what I mean? As long as I am happy anyways, I'm grateful anyways. If it is this, let it be. And if there is something better, I trust you. So Alhamdulillah, in any case, it's always light upon light.
So basically, it is the attitude that matters.
Yeah, it's not the exact thing that lots of times we are made to ask for something specific, but it doesn't. But if I truly believe that this is my what is best for me, I'm deluded, because how can you make sure? This is what I feel, I think right now, and if there is another better solution, I trust God. Why I'm saying this? Because sometimes we are not making dua like this. We are making dua through taking actions. I'm taking a certain path, taking action, because from my vantage point, it feels like this is what I need to do. I do it, but either I am the way is made easy onto me. That's what we ask in the istikhara. And if it's not made easy, or I am directed to another path, I don't fight and I don't resist. I say, okay, another istikhara, and now it feels like this is the path I go. What matters is my surrender and my trust, putting my trust in Allah. Even when I am following something that I misperceived, if my intention was, I thought this is what needs to be done, then I'm open. When I'm shown another path, then I don't resist. I trust. But if I'm relying on myself, then it becomes fighting and not trusting and being unhappy when things don't go my way. And hasha, it becomes like, I know what's best for me. Let's see if Allah is going to accept what I need or not. I'm asking you only when I can do it myself. It's a very disconnected, it's not dua, it's a disconnect. The attitude is an attitude of disconnection, and I'm not praying to God really. I'm just like, when I cannot do it, I'm asking for help. But the more I live consciously as abd, the more I live in surrender to the fact that I don't know, I am limited, and I trust that Allah has the best for me. He's the one inspiring me with the desire for the best, for the easiest, and He's the one guiding me. And so if I am, and of course I could be misinterpreting things or misperceiving, and it's okay, because my intention is to follow divine will. When I am made, I'm following a path and it's closed and another path shows up, I don't fight and tries to knock off the walls. I have to, there is a door on the side. No, I have to carry on in my way of doing it. Just a second, then stop, another istikhara, follow whatever Allah shows you. That's the intention is what counts. The attitude is what counts. And we know deep down, am I following, trusting and surrendering, or I'm insisting on my way? We know, everyone, if we pause and ask ourselves, we know when we are being stubborn. But in this path, there is no being stubborn. There is persistence in trusting. And things becomes easier, more exciting. We don't have to know things in advance. And actually it becomes, for the ego not to know is very scary, because we want to be in control. But for the soul, it's, let's see what Allah has for me tomorrow, what new worlds He's going to create for me. Because I'm not here to fulfill this purpose or that purpose, the short-term purposes or goals. The real end is always related to akhirah, related to God. So it becomes easier and easier to let go and surrender.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yamina. Thank you, Ziba, for that question. It reminds us again, the attitude is important, inshallah, to ask whatever we ask, small or big, to be in a state of trusting and surrender. And if I may add, we also know that there are different circumstances, and we're always in a state of asking this way or that way. So when I'm running hard to make it to the gate on time to catch my flight, that is also, I'm asking, in a way. I want to make it to the flight. I'm running. That's a prayer as well. And the attitude is important in there. It doesn't have to be that every situation is, I don't know, that's what I thought. I don't know, Dr. Yamna, what you would say, but you know, istikhara is important. At the same time, we have situations where we don't feel the need for it, not because we know the best, it's just that
Istikhara is for when we feel like
Yeah.
I don't know.
conflicted. Yeah, I mean, in the morning, let's say, sometimes I say, shall I have coffee or shall I have tea? I don't need to make istikhara really when I reflect.
No,
Bismillah.
no.
Yeah, but the attitude, you know, like when I'm running to the plane and I don't feel like, shall I make istikhara? I really want to catch this flight. At the same time, still being open to that, you know, this is what I want, but I don't know what's best for me, and to be open to the attitude, as you say, is important. Attitude of trusting. Inshallah. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. Jazakallah khair, Dr. Yamina. And thank you, Ziba, for the occasion for raising it. Jazakallah khair. So, are there any other comments, questions? If not, I'm inclined to stop here for today. There are some things in the passage that we might unpack more, but if perhaps not necessary. I mean, لا مشهود إلا هو لا موجود إلا هو. These are some Sufi terms that Imam Nursi is contrasting with the Quranic, the more Quranic, they are also Quranic paths perhaps, but the more Quranic attitude, which is to not put aside the world as a veil or as something blocking us, rather as a sign pointing to our Rabb, and seeing the world as not something to be turned away or to be forgotten, but something to be seen as an ayah, as a mirror to beautiful names of God. Very intense gems, very deep ideas, ideas and gems, really, insights. So we could unpack more next time, or maybe I don't know what we do next time. But I suggest we stop here. We have had a lot of.
We can start a new text, inshallah, next time.
Yeah, we can start a new text, inshallah. Yeah, feel free to send us a comment at receivingnoor@gmail.com or on WhatsApp. Any feedback from what we have studied for a couple months now, how we want to proceed also. I'm just saying this at the spur of the moment. There's a lot of intense, beautiful gems, and we need to, inshallah, continue to remind ourselves to stay with the practice. And how is the halakha helping with it? You know, if you want to drop us a note, feel free to do so. Any particular suggestion of a theme that you would like to study together? Any question? Please feel free to drop a note. The idea of the halakha was to be more interactive and more encouraging us to have hard work. So perhaps we can leave ourselves with the hard work for the next week. Well, Dr. Yamina took a good amount of time to kind of remind us that the path, the steps. So kind of for 25 minutes or so in the middle of this recording. So we might want to revisit it during the week on our own, and inshallah focus on the steps of admitting our shortcomings, stop absolving ourselves, remembering our Rabb, that we are being taken care of, this immense abundance and miracles of power around us, being willing to give praise rather than boasting, recognizing transience. There's so many gems here. So I guess one hard work would be to try to stay with any one of these during the week. and maybe have a little journaling for ourselves to be on the track. That could be helpful, inshallah. Any final words before we close? Okay, so on that note, inshallah, we're gonna stop here. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge except what you have taught us. You are the all-knowing and all-wise. This is from Surah Baqarah. وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. This is another verse that says the people of paradise, their final words is all praise be to God. So we end with that, inshallah. Let's keep each other in dua, and let's intend to meet on Thursday, but this is only for sisters. I mean, our halakas are open to everyone, brothers and sisters, but on Thursday night, let's do, inshallah, a prayer session for sisters only, and we'll share that in the chat, in the WhatsApp, inshallah. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Receiving Noor, if you haven't already, and drop us a note if you want to be part of the WhatsApp group, and sign up for the newsletter if you're not receiving the newsletter. It's weekly newsletters, and you can subscribe from www.receivingnoor.org, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Yamina, and Jazakumullah khair, everyone, for joining us. And inshallah, we'll continue to reflect and practice and share more next time, inshallah.
Inshallah. And remember istighfar, inshallah.
Ameen, inshallah.